Hello, welcome back to the Rainbow Room International podcast channel, and I am with John Paul Parker for part 2 of his podcast. Hope you enjoyed part 1. If you've not watched it, get back onto the channel, subscribe, like it, make sure you're sharing it, especially if you're with the brand already or you're thinking about joining the brand. Make sure you're sharing these between your friends and your colleagues, and we're going to get right back into it with John. Right, so we're back for part 2, John, and we finished up with the kind of night before, getting ready for the salon.
607 Great Western Road.
And John Parker, as far as we're concerned, John put the great into Great Western Road. So when GWR opened, it was John that did that. And famously, we always talk about it was the franchise that opened with a queue.
Yeah, we were very lucky. I was lucky enough to work alongside Patrick Healy, who came initially for Sassoons, and by that point, Will Fleeson had joined us, who was brilliant. He came up from Manchester, great energy. He came along with me and Patrick and with Charlotte and Sarah Jane, so a really good wee crowd had been handpicked to open up Great Western Road. And yeah, famously, there was a queue outside. It was good. I remember it was a World Cup, 1998 World Cup year, and the pub up the road was showing the football, and we used to send there was no space really, two chairs in the waiting area, 2 seats. She used to send the clients to the pub to wait, and then go up and chat up the window and get them in, queue out. It was great. It was great. The energy and the numbers from that first 2 or 3 years in that salon were amazing.
Wild.
Yeah, crazy bonkers. You're doing every day, you're doing 8 clients a day, and you're doing your 6 days, you're doing your 7 days. And it wasn't a hassle. Everybody wanted to do it because there was a real good buzz. And I don't think Great Western Road at that point, there was no coffee shops anywhere. You couldn't go next door to a coffee shop. There was no.
Yeah, they weren't a thing yet.
Yeah. So we had a real buzz, a real hub where a lot of that, the West End crowd felt quite comfortable coming into something that had maybe seemed financially maybe out their reach, but also it was realising that it wasn't just a great brand, it was a cool brand.
Yeah, it wasn't corporate.
It wasn't corporate, it was cool, it was people.
It was legit, yeah.
Yeah, it was people,
And they took ownership of it. Like the West End took ownership of your salon.
It was a really good place. They did a really good job in finding the perfect site for that salon, It really was astounding. I thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it. And the excitement and the worry that keeps you going, that buzz that keeps you going all the time was just there from day one.
And did you find that really different from just, being in charge of yourself, building your clientele and your column, and being in charge of the futures of youngsters in respect of their career from a training perspective and giving them the right start, but now taking on this thing of not only have got, your own, back, you've got to look after yourself and your own financial thing. Yeah. Then you've got your own clientele, but you've also got these careers and lives of these other people to start building now. Yeah. Did you take that on kind of, were you scared about it? Or were you excited about it?
I was scared about it. I don't mind figures. I don't mind the maths of it. I don't mind the accountancy side of the business. I don't mind that at all. In fact, it gave you another wee outlet that you didn't know you were missing. Yeah. I enjoyed this, the accountancy sheets and turning your figures up every month to Lyndon Allen or every week to Lyndon Allen. These are pre-internet days. You were going to meet them every week or every other week. You were taking your wages to Gina to get the wages signed on a Sunday, queue outside her door with people trying to get their wages signed for the next day, for the Monday. Keep my tab on everything. I enjoyed that, but at that point I was surrounded by people who wanted to get on as well. The difficulty in running it did come as the business itself grew.
Yeah.
And we were open 7 days, we were open 4 late nights and Sundays, and it was like we were doing, I can't remember, something crazy like 70 hours a week. 75, maybe 80 hours a week. The salon was opened, we were open late every night. And
it was one of those things in that it was a perfect spot, it was a perfect position, but but instantly it needed to be twice as big.
Yeah,
it's a bit like yourself in the academy, really.
100%.
And that the stress of that alone. And now as a salon owner, and every time
I find space for another chair.
Whenever I see Great Western Road, and I think of the numbers that if only my salon would do and would have done at the time that you were doing that would have opened, blows my mind.
Aye.
Never mind how you got
I know.
everybody's bags
I
in your
remember
staff
London
room.
Allen, London Allen, here the staff room was tiny when the staff room was about 3 feet wide and about 10 feet long. It was tiny. But I remember Alan saying, we looked at the other one down the road there, but the access wasn't as good, and it's now Paisano. Do you know, that
right.
bank?
Yeah,
that was available at that point, and it was a bit further down, but there was the access was up a staircase, but it was a massive space. Again, it must have been about maybe 2,000 square feet, 2 floors, ground floor and basement. It's now Paisano, and they've got their kitchen there downstairs and stuff. So that was massive. So yeah, instantly too small. But I could stand in that shop in my bottom 2 sections, on the left and right, section 1 and section 10, or section 1 and section 12, and see everything.
Yeah.
Turn around and see everything.
Yeah.
And the staff room was that old adage, nobody stayed in the staff room. The staff room was tiny. Plus people smoked then. Smoking in the staff room. So Will was pushing. Will wanted to do more artistic stuff. Patrick came from that educational background of being brought up, being a stylist who was brought to Sassoons, stripped back, re-Sassooned and pumped out, you know. Yeah. So I had him and his detail, and then Carol, and all the people that came along and all the people who were part of that story. And I remember being told it had a great aura, but the music was loud, because I was never allowed to put music up, because Linda Stewart was in charge of the music in 15 Royal Exchange Square. David's taste in music is
no comments.
Terrible at best, you know. So being able to do that, I remember buying my first iPod. I remember buying the first iPod and loading up. I remember buying a CD, a 200.
Yes.
This two thing. Yes. Was it a Kawasaki or Suzuki or something?
No, it was a Sony.
Was it Sony?
300 disc
CD,
jukebox CD.
Random. Stick it on random, man. Loved it.
Nobody ever believed me when I said that they weren't allowed to pick the music when they came to work for me. I would vet the CD. I would
to this day, when I started with David, we used to be sideline here. When I started with David was playing YouTube playlists. Right, and what he didn't understand was after 3 days there, when he pressed stop on that and turned it off at night, he went back to the beginning again. Yeah. So 11 o'clock, he had the same tune on. So I took over that. So that was big, because I was really into, we spoke about this earlier, about really into music and how that can, we listen to music 8 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week for 40 years, right? Yeah. So you do tend to go, that ain't working.
No.
My clientele isn't that kind of listen.
It's got to be for everybody.
But also you still want that.
Everybody.
What's that?
What's that? Oh.
Love it when a client, what's that son? So that was a major thing.
I've got certain songs that people would never believe it's by the artist, and to this day, and I will not reveal who and what, I'll go, if you can tell me who this is, I'll cut your hair for free.
Yeah, right.
And they'll never get it, right?
Love covers, love
you'll never get who, there's no way that sound will be linked to that artist ever. Yeah. Nobody ever gets it, right?
I think that spending time in the salon and having that extra thing, for me anyway, I always appealed to me that you would have really cool music in the background.
Right, so that then brings us to a whole other bit of your career, in that ultimately you're the guy that created the link for Rainbow Room International to be really involved in not only Tea in the Park, now Transmit, but doing here behind the scenes for bands coming through, artists that were getting broken through record labels in Glasgow, going and doing here at venues for artists. So rather than just talking about how we got to that point, where did that interest sort of first start for you?
I think that having been regular to go, be friendly with Jeff Ellis, who's a very, very intelligent, very clever man who runs DF concerts in King Tut's, and one of the best booking agents in the whole planet, one of the best contract men in the whole planet, and been friendly with that circle of friends, and was doing all their hair. They were coming into the salon. Colin, who I shared a flat with, was a production manager for DF concerts. Shared a flat with Colin in Clevedon Drive before Joe moved in, so we had a good circle of friends. My mate was the guy upstairs was in a band called One Dove, which are still a legendary Glasgow band who were produced by Weatherall just after Weatherall had done Primal Scream. So that was the music side of things has always just been an integral part of what I am. You know, I'm the same as you, Ricardo. Yeah. My life, I've got a playlist for my life. People have a monologue, but I've got a monologue with backing music.
Yeah, oh yeah. You
know, this exactly situation would be made better with this piece of music.
For those paying attention, they're most of the time over my right hand shoulder, and it'll always be. And the two things go hand in hand. So there's two aspects of that for you, and also the timeline in which you're coming through Glasgow and what actually happened with Glasgow at the time, because it was an unbelievable, that kind of cusp of late 80s, early 90s in Glasgow was amazing, because the club scene just absolutely blew up, and quite frankly there was not a dance floor that you were not in the middle of. You know, John famously dances like nobody's watching and takes over.
I just loved it. I mean, again, it's like my mum and dad always had music in the background, as I'm sure yours did. You know, you didn't have the telly on, you listen to music. You know what I mean? So you're founding, and then you meet people. My best friend in the whole world, Martin Manley, who's still, and that was in the flats. Well, Martin was always pushing me, going, "You can what are you doing next? What are you doing better?" You know, because they were all doing better, and you were surrounding yourself with those people. But long and short, James Brown came to perform in the one on the south side. What's it called?
The Carling Academy.
The Carling Academy, yes. And Jeff said, "Any chance you could go down?" Jeff phoned me up and said, "Look, Mr. Brown's here, and he's like, I wonder if you could go down and help him with his hair. Have you got these huge hooded dryers?" So we had two of the big hooded dryers. So Julie took it apart, humped everything, got my kit, went down to the academy and got in to do James Brown's wigs. You know, we got freaking, you know, didn't look up, put his wig, placed his wig.
So wasn't it at the hotel? It was at the Carling Academy.
That's
when
the
you did it.
Rooms,
which is the reason why, needless to say, we brought the James Brown and the Famous Flames Think album, because they had to go hand in hand with this, because it's a Rainbow Room International legendary story.
And that got me into the idea that this is a thing, but it wasn't a thing.
Yeah,
artists would normally go, or they didn't even bring their own. Then it was, you know, you got down to do it. I mean, so
it's a serious start.
Yeah, it was a bit of a serious start. I mean,
so brother number one.
Wigs and then stepping back out the room while he changed his wigs and stepping back in. But anyway, he did that gig, and I remember thinking, "Fuck, that's pretty cool." And then Colin McWilliams' a stag party. We were out, and by this point, somebody else was in charge of production, and said, "Look, why don't we? We're on a bus coming back for the stag party in Edinburgh, or going to the stag party." It was all DF guys and Rainbow Room and all these other crowds. I mean, these people we knew, kind of quite a nice, intelligent, but quite creative hub of people, And somebody suggested, why don't you do here backstage at Salon? And that went to Colin Rogers, and then Colin Rogers took it to Jeff, and then Jeff came back, and we started there maybe early 2000s, maybe 2000 itself. We built a salon backstage at the biggest festival in Scotland, which by then, when it was full over the weekend, became the third biggest city in Scotland.
That's right.
Balado was the third biggest city in Scotland, So, and we got VIP, we got to camp backstage, but again, we had to be professional. Yeah. The genius that is Doogie designed a salon that could be folded away and rebuilt. We get put in the VIP area. Yeah. And we just handed out flyers, just saying, look, you know these guys. And that started the ball rolling, where you earned the right to go and work at Tina Park. You earned the right to go and do these artists' hair. And the thing I remember most about it is, as soon as the artists were in a chair with a gown on them, in front of a mirror, it was a piece of comfort. We didn't play any music.
That's right.
Didn't play music back at all.
That's right.
VIP was on in there, and people were kind of coming up because we had nice curtains. And
that's right. Because there was always us on one side. There was usually like a therapist.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then they would have their bar, coffee area.
And the bands were coming in and out all the time.
And there would be the usual
peeking in and
table tennis table and foosball
Space
and telly up the back. And it was, for those of you that go to Tina Park then, where the main stage was, directly behind there was an artist village where they had all the porta cabins for all of the bands, and they would be getting brought in and brought out throughout the day. And then there would be this tent in the middle that was kind of like their green room.
That's exactly what it was.
And then we were in that green room, so it then meant that people could invite, and we would take like one of our PR guys, and they would walk around and give out the flyers and put stuff up in all the porta cabins. And the great thing was that we probably didn't get the headliners straight away.
Not initially, no,
we never got any of that. You would get these up and coming bands that nobody knew, and they'd been on a bus for months. And all these guys, you would get all them. Stage. And then slowly by surely within 5 years, they're headlining the thing, and they're still coming in to get the haircut, and you know, and then you would then get them if they were back in Glasgow. They would be coming to
Great Western Road to get that. And then we started doing the backstage at the Hydro, and backstage at the SEC, and then it was the BAFTAs, and then it was the Mobos, and that thing just rolled on. And for me, that was a really important thing. And looking back at it now, I had no idea how revolutionary it was, because you can't go to a festival now without that.
No.
Festivals all over the country have got that, but Rainbow were certainly the first people to offer that service.
Well, the other thing that was unique as well is we weren't paying for it.
Yeah.
It was given to us on the understanding that we weren't going to be, pardon my French, dicks about it.
No.
That we were going to be really professional,
Yes.
not bother the talent.
No.
And
That
look
was a big
after
deal.
them.
We didn't have access to mobile phones and backstage stuff.
No, there was no photographs. The only
just
thing we
came
did
in.
was, obviously, you'd get the guitar signed for Teenage Cancer Trust. We would ask for an official photograph with anybody that signed
do
it,
it, yeah.
and then we would, that would get auctioned off for charity. But it was a strict, Big Jim would always tell you, don't mess with the talent and just and look after them,
And again, that perpetuated that thing for younger members of staff in a way that I would say happened with me with the Alternative Fair Show, where they're going, well, how did I get there?
Yeah.
How did I get there?
Yeah.
How did I get to go and do Pete Doherty's
Yeah,
here?
I think transmits that now, probably. For the young kids coming into the salon now, it's going, I've heard you guys get to.
Yeah.
And I went, well, here's who you need to be before you get to go there. And what's exciting about that is that it's still hairdressing related, 100%. But it's actually on the wider, you and I and everybody. The alternative keeps coming up on every conversation we have, especially in our generation as stylists at Rainbow International. But it's maybe a bit niche for the wider public, whereas if you're cutting hair wherever you are, Ayr, Glasgow, wherever, and you're telling your pals who aren't hairdressers, it's back to that, is my job cooler than yours?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Get a picture taken with Kendrick Lamar, or
I'm going to do hair
Excuse me, guys.
That's good. Am I going to do hair at, Tina Park, or am I going to do hair at Transmit? Then it's huge. And the great thing is now that because the world is more internet savvy and you can take pictures, we're allowed to actually put it out more than we ever did to get maybe when we
to get a PR out of it.
So that was amazing, and that was all you, for all that.
That was me and Joe driving that, certainly, and using that barter thing, that circle of friends for saying, look, I can reciprocate this with you. Yeah, you need somebody down there to do that, but we'll do it. We'll do it for nothing, and we'll do it with aplomb. Yeah, we'll do it better than everybody else. We'll do it unexpected. Because what I discovered is when an artist's coming there to Scotland, it's normally the end of a tour. Yeah, they're on a bus or they're on a plane and they stay in hotels and invariably cutting each other's hair on a bus, which happens a lot more than you would imagine, with these big bands. Sitting down with a gown on them, you're just a hairdresser and they're just a client. Yeah. And we were never really, obviously you were in a whole wee bit, but we didn't play up to it, No, it was always that thing of, my thing, and again, this is, I think, kind of a bit unique for you and I, and that we were such musos that you knew everything about the person that you were going to cut their hair, and it was like, right, I don't want to be like this pure sycophant. So the only thing I could ever do, I remember going to cut Huey's hair for the Fun Criminals, right? Who was just an absolute legend.
God to me, right?
Yeah, of course.
And it's the last time I've ever shook.
Physically going
to cut somebody's hair, And my whole thing, I'd created this thing of you've got 24 hours to live and you can go to 2 gigs. You can bring somebody back for the dead and go and see them, or you can go and see somebody that's still alive just now. Who's your 2 gigs? And that just let me get myself calm, let them talk about something
what they do
without me going in about, oh, you're famous and you're in the telly or you sell loads of records and all that kind of stuff. And the great thing is they're a musician because they love music in the first place. Yeah. And also you got to learn all these other artists. Half the time,
of course, I
didn't know who they were talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
They're sitting going, yeah.
Catches with mittens, I've played with him, yeah.
Never heard it. So that always got me sort of through that thing of going, I know more about you than obviously.
I remember they're genuinely just want nice hair. Yeah. That was it. And I think we get rid of all the bells and whistles. Yeah. And we brought it down to, and also a lot of the guys that were doing it, I remember Carol doing Florence Welch's hair, or Beyonce walking in and signing the poster. Yeah. Nobody was really phased out. Do you know what I mean? You were talked about it afterwards. Yeah. But you just played it cool because that's what's expected of you. And Jeff runs his business
Well,
like
again, we were really busy.
Yeah.
But do you know the favourite haircuts I ever did when we did it is in the morning before we started. We'd always give the truck drivers a haircut.
Right, yeah.
The bus drivers and the truck drivers who would be running about like dafties, and before the thing kicked off, and you'd always sort of see them kicking about, and you're going, "Do you want a haircut?"
Yeah.
And you got as much satisfaction.
Yeah, and they gave you everything. They were the guy you went to. You know?
Yeah.
They just said, "Oh, sorry, I'm doing." You jumped on a wee golf buggy, you went around the thing.
Yeah.
I went in, jumped
Yeah,
backstage.
all these guys, and that gave me more of a satisfaction. Don't get me wrong, right? It was great
Yeah,
to do
of course.
all the celebrities that we eventually got to do, but it was definitely unique, and to the point where it was also people tried to buy it off us,
That's right, yeah.
or buy it off
DF.
buy it off DF, you know, and to their credit, their loyalty was always to us.
Absolutely.
Because hopefully we did what we said we
And
were
as
going
long
to
as
do.
we're doing that and providing that for their clients, if you like, because they're customers,
Yeah.
and we're bringing our teams through, and they've earned the right to do it, and this is your behaviour, and this is how you look, and this is how you stand.
Yeah.
This is how you walk, exactly the same as the salon.
Yeah.
Don't treat it differently.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a big thing, and then, you know, the music has always been a part of that right the way through, and then that led us to bring in more clients, people who worked with DF, and then you started getting tickets and started going to gigs and seeing more stuff and getting into these other people who were making, in my head, they were making your salon cooler.
Of course.
You know, they were coming in, they were nice, they were dressed well, they were good, they wanted a banging haircut, and they kept coming back
Yeah.
because they're getting a banging haircut, despite now having to pay for it, or, you know, going through the not getting a freebie backstage, you still come in to get a haircut. So
I think that was always
magic.
Alan's thing as well, and that celebrities didn't get free haircuts at Rainbow International. They still paid, because his idea was, well, wee Jeannie's been coming for 25 years. Why should you need to pay? So-and-so's reading the news. Why should she be
The
getting
girl
it?
next to you
Why-
is paying.
Why should she be getting it for free? And the thing is that for all the celebrities that, you know, we do, and it's, I think they like that too. I think they like the fact that it's a bit of normality,
normal,
and they are
normal.
a
They're
customer
not
to the
getting.
brand.
Yeah, they're not getting. We've all got clients who are high-profile clients.
Yeah.
Just come in and get a haircut.
Yeah.
They just come in and get a haircut and
Just
talk,
normalise their
talk-
life for
talk,
40
not,
minutes.
talk about their dog.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Not about their work.
No. No.
Yeah. So that was a big deal. Great
Although, do you
Western
find that tricky as a music buff? Because I know I'm a bit, I've got to watch, because I'm like, tell me everything that, you know, tell me about your recording process, and like, tell me about, you know,
Well, actually, I was more
who's
raging.
producing the record, like, and then at the end I go, I've talked about that guy's work for an
it's a
hour,
show.
and I'm kind of like, as opposed to, he wants to go to the
your
football,
dog?
or he's wanting to watch Netflix. You
aye,
forget that they're just want to do that
But
too.
then that's just your passion in it as well. That's just your passion coming through and talking
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, recently Joe was doing guitarist for a brilliant Scottish Glasgow band. Did his Stuart's hair for Mogwai for a wee while when I was like fanboyed out.
Yeah.
But Joe was doing his hair. Joe was like, I'm doing Stuart's hair. Do you know what I mean? So you didn't get that. Joe does Stuart's hair. And I got to do Guy Garvey's hair once and spent a day with him, man, and it was for elbow, and he was amazing, you know, just sitting talking to you.
Yeah.
In his toilet, in his suite in the Blythewood Hotel.
Brilliant.
So yeah, that was all rolling on, and you were getting lots of staff joining as well because of that. Because of that and because of Rainbow Room, because at that point, Susie had joined us.
Yeah.
Susie McGill, Sam's sister, had joined us, and Susie came from London. Susie was a different animal. You know, Susie had done London. You know, and she wanted to come back to Glasgow.
She had the t-shirt.
She
had
well wore
the
it, man. Aye. There's
It
holes
was
in it, man.
worn out, holes in it, aye.
So she did. She brought something completely different, and her and Charlotte bounced off each other, and that helped her artistic side of things. And then still wanting to win, you know, Salon Team of the Year. I think we won it. I could stand corrected, but I think we won it 4 times over the 26 years.
I think so.
Something like that, right? So that was big. You were a wee shop, but you were, again, you were punching above your weight there. And
Still not won it to this day. I've won it as a manager. Never,
Yet.
never won it as a salon owner. I'm still trying, I promise. So you've got a couple of legacies in all of that, and as you say, that some of the people that went through that door, that their history in Rainbow Room now is still huge, because obviously, you know, and we'll talk to Will and where his career went, and all the different avenues that Will went down. You've got Susie, everything that Susie did.
Yeah.
You've then got Joe's story between that. You've then got obviously Charlotte
who's
Charlotte did, and now
away,
she's
come
back as
yeah,
well,
which
which is
and
great.
that's
The idea
nice.
that everybody can come home.
Yeah,
You know, nobody's
that's a
ever, we
big deal.
don't burn the bridges.
It's a big
We
deal,
get it.
you know,
that we're
and
grown
it's that
ups.
family thing again. We keep touching on it, but Great Western Road was a big family. It was absolutely fantastic, you know, brilliant.
So it blew up, and it was what
Yeah.
it was, and then Crow Road. You
Yeah.
get the opportunity to open.
Got the opportunity to open Crow Road, and by that point, my nephew Andrew, well, Joe's nephew Andrew was working with us, and Julianne was working with him as well, and they were working in Great Western Road, and we got the opportunity to go down there, and Julianne wanted to go on, and it was good for Joe, my wife, to go down and work down there, and that kicked off. Never ever had the same instant impact. A big slow burner, Crow Road, you know. But again, running two shops for me personally it just became too much.
Yeah.
It just, you know, it was fantastic. It had a great team down there. But I would say, personally speaking, after a few years, I thought, no, I'm losing concentration on both. And Julianne was doing a great wee job down there, and various reasons. There was things happening with the staff down there, going back and forth. There was long-term illness, and it just became wrong. It just became wrong, and I started losing it a wee bit. And we were kicking the arse out of it a wee bit as well. Great Western Road still, you know, we're still partying a wee bit. And dead honest, despite Alan and Linda's best intentions and best advice, I thought I could do it. I thought I could do it a bit differently my own way, but I very quickly realised that Julianne and Andrew were banging at the door. They wanted to come on. So at the point where, and Crow Road was great, you know, again, you're getting another opportunity to bring more people in, and it was a beautiful salon.
Yes, yeah.
Gorgeous salon, really nice. Great
And it's so airy and open.
Yeah,
and you can
man,
see into it from the street so well.
Beautiful. Julianne doesn't like loud music, so she's always...
She turned it down, all right. Aye.
So, yeah, and that was great. And we had a lot of people going through there. I don't mean to just brush over it, but it was a great time. I think we maybe had it about, I think I maybe opened about 2002, something like that, maybe. Yeah. We had it for about 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And then Jill and Andrew were ready to take that on, and I was ready to step back.
Yeah.
Linda and Alan, being Linda and Alan, found a way to make that work.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do. You know,
Again,
that's,
well, it's a positive again, and the fact that it's really nice that at the end of the day you were kind of you were officially handing it over to family members.
to family, yeah, my niece and my
as well,
nephew.
which was great. It was kind of meant
and
to
that
be as well.
Yeah, definitely,
Weirdly at the time.
definitely, yeah. It was really good timing for everybody involved in that. And then, you know, back up to Great Western Road, another new team coming through on it. And I was always doing night classes, still.
Yeah.
Still think that's the basis of everything, you know, I really do. I think if you've got a kid that's willing to stay behind, whether you're paid or not paid, but they want to stay behind and say, what else can I learn?
Yeah.
What else can I do? Can you show me that? Can you teach me this? And again, it's not just about hair. It's about fashion and how to stand. I mean, I'm really, you're the same.
Yeah.
Ergonomics, posture.
Yeah.
Do you want to be a Humphrey hairdresser? Or do you want to, one of the things I got from a film I seen years ago that you and I spoke about, Dogtown and Z-Boys, a documentary about skateboarding, and the guy that was filming, the guy who ran the surf shop at the time, said, I realised very quickly that it wasn't enough to be good. You had to look good when you were being good.
Yeah.
And that stayed with me.
Yeah.
I've most of my assistants have watched that film.
Yeah, oh no, it's I mean,
Over
again,
and over again, and
it's without a word of a lie. And the assistant I was training last night, and Alan's thing was, when you're combing hair, imagine you're on stage at Salon International and there's a camera over your shoulder, and it's getting projected onto a giant screen. How do you want that section to look? How do you want your combing?
Yeah, you don't be doing that with a Kirby grip.
Yeah,
to open it on your mouth. Yeah. You're on show. You're on stage.
All
stage
the time.
door.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean,
Stage door.
I don't think people believe that we do have on our staff room.
Stage
when
door.
you walk out, it says stage door, and that right down to that detail of somebody's looking, all whether you're doing a shiatsu, whether you're doing a haircut.
Clients aren't going to sit and look in the mirror the whole time. They're looking about, and if you've got a salon with 12 seats,
you
know, then they're seeing everything that's going on, you know.
Yeah. And it's
they're seeing how the coffee's poured, and it is, and you've got to take pride in that, you know.
Well, it's a beautiful thing done in a beautiful way, in a beautiful environment. That was always kind of how we would put that across. So we're at that stage now where, you know, you've got this legacy of stylists that have come through Great Western Road, and now you've got, you know, two of those team members running their business in Crow Road and taking that one over from Joe and yourself and pushing that forward, and you've kind of backing your baby and you're looking after that and you're working that through. You've got the tea in the park thing bubbling away. You know, you've still got your passion for training at night time and you're doing all that, all the while still with this massive clientele and personally still doing. I think the one thing that will always come for us is we've never really, we're follow us, charge salon owners, we're not do as we say salon owners, so we're predominantly in the trenches.
Oh, there's nothing better than being the busiest in the salon. Nothing better than looking at your figures against everybody else's, and you're doing this.
Yeah.
And you're doing that. It's that whole thing about, 24 hours a day. What are you going to do with them?
Aye.
You know what I mean?
And
Barack Obama, 24 hours a day. Donald Trump, 24 hours a day. How can they run the free world?
Yeah, well,
yeah, how can they blow the free world up? Allegedly. But Linda and I constantly drilled that in. You said all the way through all this, as you well know, you're still going to see them.
Oh, yeah.
You're still sitting down. You're still doing your projections. You're still thinking, well, where's this styles? What's worst case scenario? Yeah. We've both been through that situation where we've been. We've both had worst case scenario. And Linda and Alan, who have also had worst case scenario. Yeah. And to imagine that all the other franchisees have also been through this and been driven through and been led.
The only time they were ever angry with that is when you weren't honest with them.
Yeah, that's
true.
You know,
if you and your own pride would be, it's not going. And you're trying to fix it and you're trying to do stuff. And instead of going, right, I'm stuck, can you help me? Yeah. And then we go, right, well, you need to concentrate X, Y, Z, this, that, and the next thing. And you might have been doing it anyway, but they're just clearing the vision for you. But Alan and Linda would never be, how did you get yourself into that situation? Because again, they've been there, they've done it, they've got the t-shirt, it's happened a million times. And listen, it's maybe happened more times than even
we've known, and various other
that they've even told us. But the fact is that they always found a way out in a positive ending. And I think that was always the thing that you just had to be honest and go, which is a big deal as well. And as you say, both of us have got those t-shirts. That is for sure. So, what then became the priority with Great Western Road at that point? Now that you've got your full focus back into it, was it just about growing the people?
It was about growing the people, and again trying to show that you still want to be the best. And at that point, the best way to show you were the best was to win the Salon Team of the Year, or to win more awards at the awards.
And at what point at this did, because obviously Tony and Guy did that thing where they started opening up next door to Rainbows. They opened up round the corner for
down the road for us.
Right, down the road for you, down the road for Will and Stirling. They opened up round the corner for Buchanan Street, put their academy in and all. So they kind of made that offensive. They were looking at the building at the end of Mass Street as well at the time, but they never opened there, and they were doing that thing where they were just going to kind of open up beside us all and piggyback on that. So that was, there's a vindication of that in that, well, we're the big dog in the street and, they're coming to try and take our ball.
So
there was a bit of that as well. So were you aware of it, or were you just...
I wasn't really aware of it. I think that we became friendly with the guy at ran the Tony and Guy, because that's what you do. I knew that the way they ran their business was different. There was a lot of other salons opening up, a lot of salons which had been big, splitting up and opening their own place. With Alan Edwards leaving Scrimshaw's, opening Alan Edwards up. You had, I think the big one was Christopher Bond in Great Western Road. Christopher Bond was massive, been there for 25, 30 years, and then Graham Spears left there, and then we got another one, number 10 opened up further up the road. So there was always a bit of healthy competition, but it was trying to keep that focus that what we are doing might not be at this moment to you the coolest thing on the planet. Because we're making you do these figures. I don't do figures. No, you do figures.
Aye.
Because you've got to learn how to work. And you've got to learn how to build. And you don't just get good for doing hundreds more hair, you get good for test yourself and push yourself. So this is how you run your figures. And this if you want a path to success, then there's a big book for it that Linda and Alan have wrote and studied and helped and passed on to all us who are all doing it. So I really felt like allowing Charlotte to do her photographs, allowing Will to do his photographic work, allowing Susie to push that art team thing, man. At one point, that hub of the art team was coming off of Great Western Road as well, Right. And we were really, really active in it. Sarah Jane, Charlotte, Joe, myself, Susie. and we were the hub of that, and that was really cool as well. That was a good thing. And I know I keep using the word
gave,
cool.
You gave rebirth to the assistant show and all that as well. Things that we used to do back in the day.
And having someone like you who you can actually bounce off of, and you can go, I get that, but what if?
Yeah.
Let's grow that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's take it from Royal Exchange Square
to
what was the Arches, and then from the Arches to SWC3 before anybody was doing SWC3.
Yeah.
We were at Swedger.
That's right. No, it's all of that was massive, and I was always kind of conscious of that. Because I was a Buchanan Street guy, 15 always felt like the hub, even though obviously
it moves
Joanna
around.
and Alan.
Yeah,
and
God, it moves around. I mean, at one point it's Buchanan Street, the other point is, but also, Buchanan Street have always got that.
Yeah.
But it's just a kind of an inherent identity that is separate from Rainbow Room and is allowed to develop.
Yeah.
Because Linda and Alan know people.
I think that's always been a great. We've all been allowed to be us. Within the sort of sphere.
It's like anything. It's like bringing a kid up. There's the rules. Bend them, break them if you want.
Yeah.
But you realise the rules are there for a reason.
Yeah.
They're there for a reason. If you follow them, you might not get all of the results, but you'll learn it. You'll be better. So that was really good. A really good time. The kind of early and mid 2012, 2013 on that way. And then, you've got that cyclical change where people start moving on. You've still got a bit of a core. And we were doing the assistants presentations, doing the assistant show. And that definitely re-clicked for me. I like this. I like doing this. I like taking them at night and saying, right, how do we make a mask? How would you interpret that? How would you do it? And I realised that my love for teaching was never lost, but I was actually getting something to focus on a wee bit.
Right. Yeah.
I had a couple of really good assistants that won Assistant of the Year maybe 2 or 3 times, and thinking, well, what we're doing's right, because they're then picking up the awards,
of course,
company-wide, so there's got to be that. And Lee, the big academy, and Lee, the wonderful, magnificent Lee has done everything she's done, the most successful educator, I think, in the UK, not just now, but, ever, I think.
I think with the
focus and
the record that it's had. So that takes us to full circle to where we're sitting today, in that you're senior educator at the academy. You're working in Royal Exchange Square, back with your brother in arms. Bad taste in music.
Dad.
Your dad.
My dad.
And, you'll love that.
Every night when I leave, I say, can I go, Dad?
Can I go?
Up in front, they go up to these clients, I tap them, I give them a hug and say, sorry if I go, Dad, every night.
Brilliant. And don't stop that, because I'm sure he loves it.
Deep down.
So you're back there, and my motto for every kid that's coming through that gets a Monday class, I'm like, please, I know I'm this baldy, nearly 52-year-old guy telling you to get the best out of this 9 hours that you're going to have, but please go and listen to me. You've no idea, A, how lucky you are, and B, you're getting paid to go there today and get this level of education, because you can't buy it, right? You can't buy it. Actually, private courses are available.
They are available, yes.
So the fact that this kid's getting to come to you
but there's also the other side of that is that Great Western was a terrible. I mean, after lockdown, I was getting towards 55, and I thought, what am I going to be doing?
Yeah.
What am I going to be doing? What's next for me, right? I've done all my trekking, my climbing. I've done, this, that, and the next thing I wanted. What's my next thing? What can I do next? And
Guinness Book of World Records for that.
Well, didn't get in, but I did cut hair on Everest at Camp 1.
It's not bad, is it?
Yeah,
it's pretty high.
Take it as everybody go. But is that thing of being, just do it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see the world the way I wanted to see countries. Couldn't afford to do them the way I want to do them. So how else can I do them? So I'll trek, I'll climb.
Yeah.
So then you start doing all that, and then I did hair everywhere. I take scissors in my bag everywhere I go.
You made a lot of money for charity when you were doing.
Yeah,
these
we're
things.
doing a lot for
Teenage
Cancer Trust,
so it wasn't just.
And that was big. Again, and all the Rainbow Rooms helped out with that. I remember it was great, busy with Quizzy and stuff like that. So getting to 55 and think, right, okay, kids and grandkids, and thinking, what am I going to do next? My lease, luckily, my lease and my franchise were coming up. Tara, again, coming through from Crow Road, banging the door.
Yeah.
Perfect hangover. And I remember, very dear to my heart, going in to see Linda Allen, and explaining, and I was terrified. You know, Joe and I sat down at the board table and went through what I wanted to happen. And it was inevitable because I wanted to do something else.
Yeah.
And Alan said, right, we know what you don't want to do, but what do you want to do? That was it, that line.
Wow. Right.
Just turn around in his chair. Right, you've told us what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And that to me was like a box of chocolates. You know, it was like, wow, okay, cool, right, okay, I want to teach.
Yeah, because it's not.
I want to teach. I want to get back into teaching.
Aye.
Yeah. You know, you're not just going back to the salon and then organise it with David. It was all a bit fortuitous, it was all a bit synchronicity, you know. Dave was needing more stylists to come through. He needed somebody with a bit of clout because he'd lost some of the older stylists.
Yeah.
Joe loved working with David.
Yeah.
If Joe worked with David, I worked with David. So it was the only natural choice, you know, despite some of the other directors getting drunk and saying, how come we didn't come? No names there. Oh, every Congress. But it was...
Well, that's good. At least you know if you've always got a plan B, C, and D.
When I go to the academy, I'm 57-year-old, right? I am not. What I've discovered, it happens in your salon till Leicester's Geek, you've got 4 or 5 assistants, but you've got a class of 26. I'm not their average male role model.
No.
You know?
No.
I don't dress like their dad. I don't sound like their dads. All their granders now, maybe, you know, 57.
Well, this is the thing.
And I think I'm the only...
Do you know, I think that's back to that thing about the world's got safer, not edgier. Yeah. And that, not being funny, but, you know, I mean, okay, right, I'd dress like a bad Frank Sinatra impersonist, right?
Sharp.
Right, but that's just my suit of armour, and there's
same.
many a psychological issue to my wardrobe, never mind anything else. But
warm up this jacket, but all the ghosts will fly out.
That's it. But the idea that, because that's the same thing for me as I'm going, I know that kid's going to the academy and going, they're going to be edgy, they're going to be articulate, they're going to be passionate about, you know, because even I joke, I'm there on a Monday for the managers meeting, and the tunes are instantly better when I arrive, and I'm like, well, seeing John's here. So that influence is immeasurable, I think, and maybe came at a unique, you know, you're talking about synchronicity, coming at a unique time for the brand, in that to have you there at that point to back up all the things that Lee's trying to do, the fact that Charlotte's come home, Ray's come home, that hub in the academy just now is better than it's been for years.
And also the days of watching everything online or learning everything online or learning are kind of being lessened, and people want people again. They want to see people, they want to see it. And you know, the behaviour that I have to learn, you know, different behaviours in my approach, you know, how to speak to the kids, because you do have to be aware that maybe some of these things that have been unrecognised for the past 30 or 40 years are coming through, but the kids might have a difficulty, just a difficulty, no worse or any worse, not anything worse than we had. Yeah. But we were given an environment to grow, despite being a wee bit hyper, you know what I mean? And we sit your arse, John, we sit your arse, we sit your arse. Alan, will you shut up, John? That you get to work, you know, and I delight Gabby. I work with Gabby from George Square, and I couldn't think of a better wingman than Gabby, because she's good, you know, and like, turns out she's bad cop. I'm good cop, turns out, right?
Right, oh, there
bad
you
cop, right? So, and she's taught me loads, because there is a formality to the education, you know, with the NVQ and then or SVQ or whoever's SDA, whoever's offering that education. So I had to relearn to work through the folders, and then Lee comes up with a brand new system, and SDA wants some of that, so we're learning another new system. So she gives it to Gabby and I to work through, so we get the first new kids coming through on the new system. Yeah. And, you know, you can do that and pass it, but you can do that, and that, and be really good when you pass it, you know?
Yeah, it's not a box ticking exercise, ever.
No. And, you know, again, I walk by and I straighten their backs and I hold the scissors right and I turn the music down. Because nobody else is doing it that I see. I don't know any other big education companies. I'm not interested. I've never been one to go hunt another hairdresser. I love nice pictures. Yeah. Wow. But at the moment, is there anybody who really inspires me in education or in hair? Susan McGill. Yeah. Susan McGill, Lee. I mean, you don't have to look far.
Well, I think that was always where we were looking. It's because of the size of the end of the day. You get 10 salons, you're 12 at one point, and you know, you didn't have to look very far. And we also made sure that information was cascading through the salons you know, all the time.
We'd also done the, you know, a wee thing we'd forgot to stick in. We did the TV programme.
Yeah.
You know, we were stars at BBC Scotland. You know, and that was something
no,
else.
Let's say you were the star
Yeah,
of
right.
BBC Scotland.
Eh,
like,
Joe's friend Helena, another contact.
Yeah.
Helena wanted to do some with HG Productions, and we ended up doing a singing. You know, still, you still get people going, you're getting that programme, because I don't know whether it's still on somewhere, but they repeated it quite a lot. Being given an environment where all of that can happen, and then you say, the Tina Park was drawing people in, oh, they do that, can we go there? The Alternative Fair Show. I'm there doing exactly the same thing, going, do they do that? Can I go there? And then we've got the education coming up, the education's really successful. Oh, they're doing that, can I go there? Yeah. Then you've got the TV programme, then you've got the stage shows. Now you've got the European trips where the kids were all going away to.
Yeah. That's good. It's now further afield than Europe. We've done Sweden, we've done Italy. You know, we're off to Japan. At time of recording, we're 2 weeks away from going out to Japan. So that kind of brings us absolutely full circle. So 87, John Paul Parker's got his pen.
Green fountain pen.
He's going to write his letter to Linda
Stewart. No, it was Linda White.
Yeah.
It was Dear Linda, actually.
What would you tell that guy?
What would I tell him? Just do it. I don't want to sound like a Nike advert here, right? But I know my family and my friends and my wife and my colleagues, it's something that I've never really thought or been aware of, but I don't really care. I'll give it a go. I don't really care. Yeah. The fear of failure, don't get me wrong, it's a big thing for me, massive. I still took me a while to go over Crow because I did look at it and go, well, did I fail there? I did fail to a certain degree, but then I gave somebody else another opportunity. So it was a win-win.
Well, it's back to Alan's thing of it's a positive outcome from
what
was
exactly
a negative
something. So, you know, feel fear and do any whatever word you use, but there's every experience I've had in hairdressing, and because of hairdressing, the positives way outweigh the bad things. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And would you still write
opportunities?
Would you still write the letter?
I'd still write the letter, man. Definitely. I'd like to go back to watching it on stage again for that perspective to go. I can be part of that. I mean, I can't stress that moment. It's not like a road to Damascus or a bulb going off. But I remember going, they're in Glasgow.
Yeah.
There, on stage with, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then you realise it very quickly, the people in the audience are coming to see you. Yeah. You know, 7 or 8 Alternative Fair shows later, or 8 or 10. I appeared in one because the model didn't turn up. I had to learn a song and a dance to go on stage at Drury Lane Theatre. Yeah. You know,
right, so you're talking about Do or Die Academy.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding, I'm not even making this up. I had a client last week go, remember that programme you did? Is there any way I can go and watch it? And we do so much as a brand, you kind of slightly forget. And then remember, we got the wee glass plaque.
Remember before that, we did the advert on the ITV.
That was amazing because it went
so
on.
Nobody else did that.
James Bond Christmas Day that came, and for that one,
Microregions, ITV,
unbelievable. And to this day, David, I think, kind of slightly ended up the star of that one. And I don't know whether it was at that point his hair was like completely white, his tash was white, it was the silver fox, and people knew them. That was hilarious. And then my continual memory of Do or Die Academy was when they took us to shows the first episode and then explaining like it was kind of early online bullying and not to feed the trolls when people were going to say horrible things about it online, and you're going,
what?
Oh, right, I'm not really.
Didn't know it was a thing.
I'm just trying to be a good guy. Yeah. And the best laugh for me is they kept on going how serious and grown up. I'm like, I've came out as the grown up. This is a nightmare. Yeah. But equally, the other side that came out for me was the fact that how serious we took it. And the best laugh was it wasn't even a dip into how our training was, because obviously the television programme had to make it entertaining and pick particular characters that they thought would be interesting, whereas, you know, the truth of the matter was we take somebody, we turn them into a great hairdresser, the end.
Yeah.
Wasn't really going
that's
to...
it. So how can you stretch out to 4
Wasn't going to be
episodes?
that exciting,
Aye.
you know.
So I remember-
Nothing actually went wrong. We didn't burn
remember,
anybody's hair, you know.
Helena and Joe having a conversation with Helena Gallagher for HG Productions, who's very successful and a really, really good friend. And, you know, Joe planted the seed and Helena, fucking seems quite good. And then coming to talk to Linda and Alan about it, and kids were all buzzed up. And we had a camera crew following us for a year.
It was insane. It
With
was
the camera crew.
absolutely
At one
insane.
point, I had to go and get a massage while they filmed me. Before the Congress, because I'd been in the gym.
Aye.
Because that's what you do before the Congress.
I know.
Whitewater rafting, and Helena and Joe really, they hit it off, and Helena really had an idea of what we wanted to put over because she'd spent quite a bit of time at Linden Allen
Yeah.
getting that, and Helena, you know.
Oh, she got it. She
Aye,
got it.
100%.
And us
And more.
straight away.
Yeah.
Well, the one for me was I used to do a hair show in a local school. But what I would do is I would take 4 or 5 kids from the school and do like 6 weeks teaching them how to do a particular hairstyle. And then they would present that as a hair show at their school theatre.
yeah.
Then we would do a hair show at the end. But I just hired a wee guy who had came from the school.
Oh, right, okay.
So he'd just left. And then 6 weeks later,
He's on the
went
telly.
back to his high school with a camera crew following, because it was about him. Because obviously they picked him as one of the assistants at that point, and you're going, how unique, you know. And you think of all the situations we were put in where, I mean, I did this. I mean, a classic for you was the whole fairy godmother hair show that we did
that's
at
right,
the clothes show.
Clothes show live,
And
yeah.
I was doing shiatsus on stage to Somewhere Over the Rainbow
John
as a
Martin's.
kid, and all that thing, and putting these unique situations. And then fast forward to the television programme, we're putting kids on the table.
And all this time,
You're
your
listening,
mates,
you're
all this time, your mates are going, "You in the telly?
What? Aye.
Yeah, or are you
Aye.
doing the show? Are you on stage? It's all that, and
Yeah.
it's grabbing that. It's doing it, going, aye, all right, Mum will do that."
And it always burst in just a hairdresser
Yeah,
thing.
100%, yeah.
You know, I used to get really annoyed actually when people when I got to become a salon owner, people that were friends with a small F would introduce me as Ricardo. He owns,
Aye, yeah.
and I was always like,
Yeah.
I'm a hairdresser.
It's just not enough. It's not enough to be a
No,
hairdresser.
no, I cut hair, therefore I am, right?
yeah.
I happen to have been lucky enough to grow up in an industry,
in
where I have
an
then got my
environment.
own business. I'm a hairdresser.
I'm a hairdresser.
And then everything
Came
else
from
after that.
boxing and martial arts. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
I just still get a bit of dig with some of my really old mates.
Yeah.
Do you ever think, because every Christmas night out, you're on, Christmas night out,
Yeah.
they are doing jobs now where they are maybe coming towards the end of their careers, and I'm thinking, I've got 20 more years left. I'm doing this for ages, man. I'm not
So,
going back to that. So,
Off
TV
the back of
programme,
that, even at that time then with the telly programme, did you see that have as much of an impact for people wanting to join your salon and the brand as Tea in the Park had before, or obviously the alternative?
yeah, because they
in
came
your
to
day?
Tea in the Park, didn't they? They came to Tea in the Park, they came to the staff day out.
So they did.
We went to the whitewater rafting, so you were showing this other side.
Did they do like daytime congress? Did they do congress before it got
Yeah,
messy?
because I lost Salon Team of the Year that year.
Oh, right.
And my face was, to coin a phrase, I looked as if I had a shite in my pocket. Raging, man. And I couldn't take it off. And Joe was sitting beside me, done up and all that.
Aye.
And we didn't win.
You could have do the Oscars face. You could have done,
Aye,
brilliant. It's good.
done. No, I'm raging. And it's on camera. Raging. man.
Forevermore.
Yeah. But that opened another world up, that normalised a lot of the stuff we do. And yeah, I think it dragged a lot of people in. And when you think of that, Linden Allen brought us into an environment, gave us enough rope to go out and do our own thing. But we've all got our own thing. No one, despite your best attempts and best intentions, no one can do what you do. Yeah. And you've also been given a platform. You might have done this. You were always the guy. You always knew what screws to get in the back of the video, or
That's how I got in the art team.
Aye, because you knew to
work a video camera.
work a microphone, a video camera. To give us that, and then to get that. I mean, one of my dearest friends, who's no longer with the company, Summer, Paula, who Joe and I definitely should have adopted, was sent home because her tan was crap. Yeah, and I brought that up. I said, I'm the guy that sent you home for a crap tan. Yeah. And that was a thing, it's like, I say it now, did your hands go on holiday and leave your face behind?
Would we be allowed to do that now?
Probably not. I try, but I still slag them.
Because
But
Alan, it was shoes. I mean, to this day, I actually was explaining to a kid the other day
crop top
that
story.
if you came in with your hair in a ponytail 3 times in
Yep.
the week, or it was greasy, it get cut off into a bob and bleach.
Aye, man, that was that.
I definitely couldn't do that now.
No, definitely not. But, you know, that was another avenue. And while we're still on this and we're caught on camera, Helena Gallagher says the idea of taking the hair ambulance, they would jump at it.
Yeah, yeah.
The idea that we could do this.
Yeah.
3 guys on the road with it.
It'll happen, but it might end up, you know, we'll maybe be, we'll be even more grey.
Yeah.
But we won't have humps.
But it's about
we'll do something with it. We'll do something with it.
That was a great time, and then, you know, it dragged in. It brought in a lot of new staff, didn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, with the revenue we got, or the thought of the advertising that on top of Teeing the Park, it was a really good time to be in, and
it's also good for clients to say they're my guys.
love it.
My guy.
Loved it still.
And I do think the personalities, it's like anything, right? You get a wee bit Scottish cringe when you hear your own. Contrary to popular belief, I don't actually like the sound of my own voice.
Contrary to popular belief, I am not Billy Connolly.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem in it. And so you get a wee bit of the cringe, and then it is our baby. That was the thing. Alan and Linda didn't keep the ball and not let us care for it. So it's as much our baby as it was theirs. And you just always want it to be presented in the best light possible, to the point where this is why we're doing the podcast.
Yeah, and you wanted to, you know, you wanted to be like a wee kitten bringing a dead sparrow to your boss. You know what I mean? You wanted to be like, oh, I've got a gift for you. You know, I'll look, Alan, Linda, because you want to show them that you're doing well and that they helped you do well, and they've taught you to do well, because none of this would have happened if you hadn't get a haircut with David, and I hadn't wrote a green letter to Linda, or I hadn't seen him in London. And that was just something I never thought would have happened. You know, your own TV show. I mean, holy cajolie.
I know, it was hilarious for the time. It was a wee shame because the last episode unfortunately got delayed because there was that
the bus crash,
the crash, and the bin lorry crash, wasn't it, in George Square, and then it went into the Christmas schedule, so it then didn't get shown to January, and it lost a little bit momentum. But then it was repeated again. It went to BBC One, and then they did a BBC Two.
BBC Alba showed it,
and then BBC Alba did it again as well. So it was great, and it is just another one of those you'll never believe. You'll never believe what I did back in the day. You know, so and again that goes back to, you know, you ended up as a model on Teeing the Park and doing a model in the Alternative Fair Show and doing all those kind of
opportunities you never thought you'd get.
But the best John Parker story of all of that is leaving the stage of Close Show Live to do what?
Oh, to get married.
To get married,
yeah,
right? So you didn't even take the day off.
I didn't take a day off
to get married. You did a hair show during the day at the exhibition centre, and then proceeded to go to
Close Show Live with Jeff Banks. Yeah. So we weren't getting married till 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock. We're in the Winter Gardens, Joe and I, and I was just climbing the walls, and I knew we were doing the show. I knew we were doing the hair show, and Linda hadn't even asked me. And I thought, no, I can't sit here. You know, I'll be climbing the walls, or you know, I'd maybe have a drink. Or my dad. I mean, I was staying at my mum's house, I think, the night before my wedding. Obviously, you know, I was staying with my daddy, and he didn't really get it. To be honest with you, my dad was, you know, pretty much a stickler for the rules. What do you mean? Yeah. What do you mean? You're going to your work. You're going. What kind of? You know, and you're thinking it's 8:30.
Aye.
And I remember thinking that I wasn't even driving, so I must have got the bus through, or the train for Coatbridge through.
What year was that?
1996.
Good, well done.
Good answer, Joey.
As the sentence came out, I went, I'm throwing them under the bus. Well done.
1996, and went to the Close Show Live, and I remember Linda had stipulated, as Linda does, we're wearing black, and I came on with candy striped jeans and an orange jumper.
I hate the black thing.
So they are.
I don't mind it in the salon because of tint marks. I get that, right? And it's great. I started a stylist, and she, you know, when she was doing her trial, all red hair, red clothes, and she's like that. Her mum's going, listen, you're going to need to tone this down. They're all wearing black in here. And we were laughing about it. And at the end of her trial, I went, now, just so you know, I never want to see you head to toe in black. Please stay.
Please keep wearing cartoon trousers.
Yeah, please keep doing it. Although the issue is that Corvey, my second name is a raven or a crow, so it comes from Corvino, and then it's Corvinus, which is the Latin for it, but it's a nickname for priests or a suspicious man in black. So I kind of tend
Oh,
to,
you can
I kind of
7 out of 10 boxes there.
yeah, so I kind of take the black and kind of own it, not quite to Johnny Cash levels, but I'll have it as mine. But yeah, that I can't. I mean, I actually can't quite remember what my role was. I think I did a model. I wouldn't have been. I had definitely compared before that point.
You and Alan, I think, were comparing, or Alan handed over to you on stage, maybe one of the first times, potentially?
No, that was the wee one.
Was it?
That was the wee one that we did on
The
the
Ideal
back
Home
of the
Show.
Schwarzkopf stage. And then that was like 93, 94. And then this was the next, your married one was the second one that we did. So I might have done a bit of comparing, or I might have just did a model. I'm starting to get into my blank years. So it's
Yeah, one of those things I remember from the Ideal Home Show, I'd always wanted to use the theme tune for the Magnificent Seven. And yous walked out.
I've just found the video of that on my video 8s, right? And I've just tried, but the problem is it's been lying in a garage for 10 years, and I think the magnetic thing's going and there's wee lines, but I've still got most of it. I've got Remo done and the whole thing. And John famously, you told your microphone sideways.
Oh, really?
You would hold it like that long before it was a thing.
I think I must have got off of Ian McCulloch.
Yeah. So there was jolpers, there was a leather waistcoat, and your tash was mad. Like,
Had a magnificent.
Mad.
Yeah, I thought I looked like a musketeer.
Oh, you were right. It was
Royally.
happening. It was happening. But that's that one. So that's 91, 92.
Yeah, was that the Sugar Plum Fairy one? Was that the one when I came on? Was that the Ideal Home Show? That was
that's the Ideal Home Show.
Yeah, wow.
Because you know the thing about that, and it was amazing. And I talked to Alan and Linda about it, was that when I went back to look at the cassettes, that they're not on stage. They're not at the Bowen. They're not there. And you know, I'm thinking, where was Alan and Linda? I'm thinking, they were manning the stand. Remember we were doing consultations and hair-ups and pin-ups and all that?
Luke was doing
they were doing the crap bit.
1,000 hair-ups in an hour or something.
No, that was the year with me and Alan. So that's 94. He did. We kind of did that whole thing. That's where we invented the smileometer. Was the back mirror became the smileometer, and Alan got him doing all those.
Guys, so
that was unique.
Kirby's.
But I don't think there's many people have done a hair show in the morning.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And did you go straight?
No, straight back to mum and dad's house.
All right.
Changed into my kilt, straight back out.
So was the whole service, the whole ceremony?
Aye, we got married in the Winter Gardens.
Right.
Yeah, I wasn't. Well, we decided to get a humanist minister and do the whole thing there.
Yeah.
And we just wanted a party. And one of the things I don't like about weddings is that whole middle ground where everybody gets hammered and the photographs are all getting done.
Yeah.
So Brian was our photographer, Brian Quinn.
Yeah.
He came in, he just shot off the hip the whole day. And Tina Park was on.
Yeah.
So the Slam DJs came down after they'd finished at Tina Park. It was just one of those things. Again, we've always been able to do it. Joe's dad baked the cake. Big Robert did the flowers. People with Joe's cousin's a promoter. Anyway, it was just great. And then we were straight into a party.
Yeah.
And we had the place till midnight. And the guy who was a rep from the council said, listen, big man, this is a great party. You can get this place for another hour. So we stayed to the end. Our car left and we had to flag a cab at the Barras.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And then fast forward.
Happy days.
Then fast forward how many years to my mum's an altar server in St.
At
Alphonsus.
my daughter's wedding. Yeah, I know, man.
That was the great thing about that was my mum went, Marilyn Monroe getting married in the chapel this week. And I'm going, and then 2 days later, you're putting all the pictures up, and I'm going, oh, how small can the circle ever
How many
get?
Venn diagrams did it take to get that one with your mum in the middle with my daughter? And
it's crazy to think. If anybody's watched both part 1 and part 2 and got to the end of it and doesn't understand your passion and creativity for hairdressing, for looking after the clientele, for being inspiring, for being an amazing educator, and just being a cool guy, then they've not been watching.
I'm in good company, man. I'm in good company.
That's for sure. But listen, thank you.
Thanks, Ricardo. Thank you very much. That was absolutely brilliant. I'm going to go over a wee greet now.